Welcome back to Learn Astrology with Mary. My name's Mary English. You can find me at www.maryenglish.com, maryenglish.co.uk, and UK Astrologer. Hello, how are you? I'm having quite an exciting weekend. I have started doing face-to-face readings because I've had numbers of requests for people that don't want to do online or don't like online. So I'm now offering, if you're in the vicinity and not further than a few minutes drive from where I live, so you're in the Bath area, then I'll come and visit you. So, and I offered that new service, and it coincided with two people, both of them are sun sign Cancer, getting in contact. So one lady I read for last time, which was 2010. That was a while ago. Yes, so the last time she had a reading was 15 years ago, so she got in contact, so I did a home visit with her. And then the other lady, who's called Dorothy, so I just give a wave to her. I'm going to be reading for her tonight, and she's coming from Bowmanville in Ontario, and she's coming to Bath just for one day. And so today, because today's Sunday the 15th, she's going to be visiting the Roman baths, and she's going to be going to the Holborn Museum, which is wonderful because that's got where Uranus was discovered. Fabulous. I've been there loads of times, and I've been there with the astronomers that use it as well and use their telescopes and stuff, and they're quite kind to me, which is nice. They know that I'm an astrologer, but they don't give me any grief. Anyway, she's going to be visiting, and then I'm going to be reading for her tonight. And I just thought, well, last week I was talking about Jupiter in Cancer, and I've got one Cancer lady that's travelled a long distance to get here, and then the other lady has also been doing some travelling in it and has booked some travels. That was part of what her reading was about, but she hasn't given permission, so I can't give any details. So, and but the funny thing was, this lady that's coming today is called Dorothy, and when I was doing some research for today's episode, there was mentioned in the text that I was reading somebody called, wait for it now, they're called Dorotheus of Sidon, Sidon, and I was just thinking, oh, interesting, it's all meant to be. Anyway, this episode is 2 episodes long, so we got episode 1 of it today and then episode 2 of it next week, and I've covered it once or twice before, and these are called Arabic parts or Arabic lots, or they're just called the lots, and they're points in your chart that are calculated using the ascendant or the houses or the moon or whatever, and then converting everything into 360 degrees, and then each degree of your chart is blah blah blah, and there's a whole lot of maths involved, etc, etc. So what we're doing today, so I want you to zoom over to astro.com, is I'll explain how to put those points into your chart, and I've ordered a copy of Arabic Parts in Astrology by a guy called Robert Zoller. He's unfortunately passed, but I've ordered a second-hand copy of that, and I'm going to read it. So this week coming, and then next week I'm going to give you a sort of a potted version of that book. I mean, I urge you to get it as well. And I thought, because I want to learn more about these, and if you want to learn with me and you want to get a copy of the book, I'll put a link to it. Then let me know, and we can sort of explore it in your chart and my chart and other people's charts and whatever. So how did I even get to thinking about this? Well, there's all of this horrible stuff going on in the Middle East anyway, and the Arabic parts were used a lot by the Arabs, big, what's the word now? But anyway, was used by them. And so my query was, would it give us some insights to what might be happening there at the moment, or not, as the case might be? So it's an open question. Now, anything you ever want to learn about astrology is on the internet, near enough. And astro.com, not only can you create a chart on there, but they've also got a thing called Astro Wiki, so you can search on that and you can find out information, as well as the Astro Data Bank, which is the one that I use a lot because you can find a free chart there for somebody that's born and you want to know their chart. So if their details are out there, they'll be on Astro Data Bank. Now on the Astro Wiki, which I pretty much trust because all of the information on there is correct. There's very, very little that's on Astro Wiki that is inverted commas wrong. So if you want to find that, you can go to astro.com, and on the main page when you go to all about astrology, it gives you the option to get to Astro Wiki. So that's so you're on astro.com, you're on the left hand side, just scroll down, you find the bit that says all about astrology, click again and it'll take you to Astro Wiki. And on Astro Wiki there's a nice little search box on there, so you can do, which is what I've done, Arabian parts, which is what we're going to be exploring. And you can then read the article that I'm just going to give you little snippets of, because don't forget, on Learn Astrology with Mary, I don't go into big detail about anything. If you want to go to big detail, off you go, get caught down that rabbit hole, which we all go to, but I like to focus on making things as easy peasy lemon squeezy as possible so that you don't have to get a headache doing something. Now on there, it tells us that the Arabian parts, or the Arabic parts, from the Latin word pars, falls under the heading of sensitive points that are not actual heavenly bodies, yet their position can be calculated within a horoscope. The Arabian parts actually predated the emergence of astrology in Islamic societies. Hellenistic astrologers called them lots, and some ancient astrologers used them extensively. Arabian parts are used mostly in horary astrology today, with some use in natal, medical and predictive mundane astrology. Now it gives us a tiddly little bit, well, tiddly is quite a big paragraph about the history of it. And it's on the second sentence where it says, their source is obscure and they could originally be Babylonian, ancient Egyptian, Magian, Persian or Hermetic, but by the time of Dorotheus of Sidon, which is what made me rather laugh because I'm seeing a lady called Dorothy today, in the 1st century AD and probably earlier, they also had become an established tenet of Hellenistic practice. So the Arabic astrologers used them a lot, but it isn't to say that they are an Arabic thing. What it's telling us here is their origin is obscure, so it was before the Arabs picked them up and used them a lot. But then as time went on, then people started writing things and translating things, and la-di-la-di-la. So where are we now? People have got them, they use them, they're there to be used. And as I say, they're used by calculating the 360 degrees, and if you start at 0, you start at 1, that'll be 1 degree into the sign of Aries until you get to 360, so it's 359, it'll be the last degree of Pisces. So that's how all of the degrees are worked out, and then they'll do these calculations, which, let me just give you an example of a calculation. So for instance, the part of fortune, which is the one that I mentioned when I've covered Arabic parts before, is the ascendant plus the moon minus the sun. So that's how you get your part of fortune. I do like using that. I have done a recent podcast on it because I think it's a nice thing to know, like, where can my fortune be? As opposed to the North Node, which is where are we supposed to be getting to in this lifetime spiritually, the part of fortune is the one that you can relax. So, actually, that's where my fortune, inverted commas, what do you define fortune as being? That's how I can make it, and the house that it's in and the sign that's in, etc. Now, you're going to be asking me, how do you find these flipping things? Well, Astro.com has got lots of different ways of calculating them. And there's ones according to a guy called Al-Biruni. Maybe we'll be covering them a bit more in the next episode, whatever. If you go to astro.com and you use, so let me just take you back to the beginning again. So go to extended chart selection, select your chart, select chart type natal wheel. So don't make anything daft there. And you make sure that you're selecting round. Now in the box chart drawing style, there's 2 options that you can choose. One is called Arabic Points Al-Biruni. Click and you get the chart, and the other you can click is Hellenistic. Now we are using a chart example today of somebody who has volunteered their chart, and I'm uploading their charts to the show notes. And to get to the show notes, because I know a lot of you are listening on Spotify and on YouTube, and you're constantly telling me you can't find the chart, that's because you need to go to where they're actually hosted. So this is where I upload them to, and then this stuff gets spread out to other places, and you need to go to this address, which is astromary and then libsyn, libsyn, and then .com, and the latest episode will come up there. So I don't know how far back you're listening, but when you get to this one, this is episode 444, and it will be located there. So the same thing you're listening to now, but you don't have to listen to it there. You can go and get the blurb, and the blurb and the charts are hosted there. Okay, astromary.libsyn.com, and you'll see in there. So this is a guy called Tim. He has volunteered his chart a couple of times before. And I'm also going to read to you the email that he sent me about the fact that he's got pretty much a stellium. Now, I've created his charts in 2 different ways. I've done the version which is the Arabic points one, and the other one I've done Hellenistic, remembering, of course, that if you're doing Hellenistic astrology, which, trust me, I don't do, if you choose the Hellenistic version, you are not going to get Uranus, Neptune or Pluto, because the ancient astrologers and the Hellenistic astrologers didn't use those planets. I use them. They exist. They're in our solar system, and I think it's bonkers not to use them, but that's just my personal opinion. So these 2 charts that I've uploaded, and we'll be talking and working our way through the blurb that's in there. But when you look at the one that is the Hellenistic version of it, you're not going to get Uranus, Neptune and Pluto. Okay. So before I go on to Tim's Arabic parts, 2 versions of, I want to read to you his email that he's sent me, because he's asked for it to be included this week, and why wouldn't I include what someone's asked me to include? Okay. Now, Tim and I have been in contact quite a few times prior to this episode, but what he sent to me was about his stellium, and he's put the subject line, "Beyond the Cake, my life's deep dive into the stars, brackets, and the hauntings." Hi Mary, your coconut cake with coconut icing and coconut cream filling analogy was not just apt, it was a profound insight into the very core of my being. That pervasive layered intensity isn't something I seek out, it's a fundamental home. If the stelliums are a cake, perhaps my experience is more akin to a deep-sea geothermal vent, constantly churning, transforming and tapping into immense hidden energies, yes, existing in a world few will ever truly explore. My life unfolds not as a linear path, but as a relentless, destined cascade of transformations directed by an almost visceral connection to the stars. The absolute epicenter of this is my Leo 8th house stellium, My private lion. This isn't about seeking a public stage, but rather a profound, fiery urge for raw, authentic expression that can only occur within the most intense, private and psychologically charged arenas. My very heart is here, driving me to the deepest emotional truths. I feel most alive, truly on the edge of my seat, when something is pouring out their heart. I'm utterly present for that raw, all-or-nothing moment of shared vulnerability and transformation. This deep internal processing, further emphasised by Mercury and Venus being retrograde here, means I relentlessly review and reprocess every profound experience. My lifelong intrigue with death is precisely this, an active investigation into life's ultimate sacred transformation. This intense curiosity fuels my creative outlets, my writing, songwriting, hence brackets Timothy and the Hauntings on Spotify, tooting my own horn, haha, and singing. These aren't just hobbies, they're cathartic vessels where the emotionally packed insights from this 8th house intensity find their dramatic, powerful voice. When I write, I go into different worlds, sometimes even wondering if they're echoes of past lives, a natural byproduct of tapping into this 8th house profound connection to collective memory and truths beyond the veil. So we've got Tim's chart up. He's got a Capricorn ascendant, and if you're using ancient astrology, this won't happen. He's got Neptune and Uranus conjunct on his ascendant. He hasn't got it in his 12th house or his first house. It's conjunct to his ascendant, because his ascendant is 14 degrees Capricorn and his Neptune is 14 degrees and his Uranus is 10 degrees. So he's got Neptune exactly conjunct to the ascendant. And anybody that's got Neptune conjunct to the ascendant to that exact degree isn't going to live a life that's working some sort of boring job as a barista making somebody's coffees. They might have that job, but on the side they're definitely going to have something else necessary for them. So people that were born in the 90s, which he was, have that wonderful Neptune-Uranus conjunction that I talk about in episode 21 because it's an indigo signature. He's a reasonably indigo chart. He has got the majority of his planets on one side of the circle, so he's definitely indigo. I mean, there's no two ways about it. But it's just the slight degree of, there's a few things that are, his whole chart's not all smashed together, but he does have the stellium. And so we've got Uranus and Neptune, bang, on the ascendant. We've got Saturn retrograde in Aquarius in the first, because the ascendant is 14 degrees Capricorn and Saturn retrograde is 1 degree Aquarius. We've got Moon in Pisces in the second house, and we've got the Sun, Venus, Mercury retrograde and Jupiter all in the 8th, and the Sun is 2 degrees Virgo, Venus is 27 degrees Leo, Mercury is 24 degrees Leo retrograde, and Jupiter is 26 degrees in Leo. So even though his sun sign, and hi Tim, even though his sun sign is Virgo, he's got his communication planet, his Venus and his Jupiter all in Leo, and that's a difficult combo to have in the 8th house of don't come anywhere near me, leave me alone. So the broadcasting necessary for Mercury in Leo retrograde in the 8th is to broadcast quietly rather than collectively, but there's a necessity to, inverted commas, broadcast. So what I've just read to you about his experience of that is the intensity. Those are all Leo things. However, and it's a big however, the sun is in Virgo, and the sun doesn't want that. He was born on a born on a full moon. I can't edit that out, I said it too quick. He's born on a full moon with the sun and moon in opposition, because the sun is 2 degrees and the moon is 11 degrees into Pisces. They are in opposition to each other, so he's born on a full moon. So this is a life that's going to be lived reasonably dramatically anyway. However, his day job is working with elderly people. He calls it aged care. Means he's working with people that are eventually going to pass over. Well, this is somebody with the sun in the 8th is going to be, inverted commas, cool with that. Now, because he's born in the 90s, he's got Pluto in Scorpio. Pluto's happy there. His natal Pluto's in the 11th. He's got Mars in Virgo, and his Mars is in the 9th. And I think I've covered all the planets. Yes, that's all the planets. Now, I've included in there Chiron. Chiron's in the sign of Leo in the 7th. And I've added in these Arabic points, the Al-Biruni jobby ones. And I've done a version of Hellenistic ones. So the ones it turns up when you ask for it and you do this chart, so it's the Arabic points one, according to the Al-Biruni chappie. I presume it's a chappie, there weren't many women that did stuff then. What I thought was interesting is that Uranus-Neptune conjunction to the ascendant is in direct opposition to Nemesis and Spirit. So these are the Arabic points that are called that. Nemesis and Spirit, which is in the 6th. And the 6th is the house of health and healing. So he's a Virgo and he's busily helping other people. And so you have to ask the question then, is his own health something? So I'm asking you directly now, Tim, is your own health something that you don't look after quite so well? Because it's Nemesis, and Nemesis, if I give the literal translation of what that means. So Nemesis is the inescapable agent of someone or something's downfall. The example is injury. Consistently his nemesis struck him down during the match. Or the other version of it is a long-standing rival, like an arch enemy, like Voldemort type thing. So this is when you're working against yourself, or like it's a downfall and stuff, and you've got it conjunct to Spirit. So Spirit, I presume, I don't know because I haven't looked all of these up yet, so I don't know what they mean by some of these words, but we'll have it all revealed next week. Nemesis and Spirit. Spirit, I presume, is one's attitude towards Spirit. I mean, Spirit's a big word because we've got spirit and spiritual, but they're in opposition. So this is a person that has a number of oppositions which don't come a lot to people that are indigos. So indigos, generally speaking, and if I took these Arabic points out, we're only going to have the one opposition, which is the sun opposition to the moon. Generally speaking, indigos have got such clustered charts that they don't even experience a square. Okay, some of them have only got sextiles and trines in their charts, and sometimes not even that if they've got very, very clustered charts. So adding in the Arabic points means there are some oppositions. So there's a sort of a safety gap. So when there's a point in the chart where there is a lot of energy and there's no other planet speaking to that very active point, if we consider the Arabic part to it, well, that's where we can let off the steam, metaphorically speaking. Now, this particular program on astro.com brings up the first chart I'm showing you, is the part of fortune, the part of spirit, the part of necessity, the part of eros, courage, nemesis, and victory. And what's jolly nice about how this chart is created, it writes the flipping things in there as words, so you don't have to go searching about for symbols for things, because that's another thing when you first start learning astrology, is you see a point on there, like, I don't know, you're just beginning to learn astrology and you see Mars and you go, oh, which one's Mars and which one's Venus? Well, Mars is the one with the arrow on it, like the sort of spear, eek, going to stick you with it. And Venus is the one with the cross on it. But when you're first learning astrology, it's like all those symbols. But you don't have to do with this because the computer program is writing it in its words. So going down, what we got there, so they've included Chiron and Lilith. Come back to them in a minute. But these are where they're spotted in Tim's chart. So we've got Moon in Pisces 11 degrees, and then we've got Victory is 5 degrees. So that's a conjunction. So victory, I'm victorious. Second house of money, and the moon is there. So I can be victorious with my emotional self as far as money goes. What I thought was very interesting, the part of necessity is conjunct Saturn. So the calculations that are made, so let me just check how necessity is made. Necessity is calculated, it's got in brackets there Mercury, so it's a Mercury one, and it's ascendant plus fortune minus Mercury. So that's how it's calculated. But the word necessity, it's like, what have I got to do, or what is necessary? And I thought it was interesting that it's conjunct Saturn retrograde in Aquarius in the first house. Saturn's happy in the sign of Aquarius. It's not quite so happy retrograding, but it could be that it's necessary for Tim to accept certain responsibilities. I mean, it makes a nice, what does Saturn do? Makes a nice trine to Mars. That's lush. Could have got Mars in Virgo. Eros is in Sagittarius in the 12th. Courage is conjunct Pluto. Out of house, because courage is in the 10th and Pluto's in the 11th. So maybe you need to be a bit more brave about friendships. Part of fortune's in the 7th. So gonna hit lucky if you marry. Ha ha. What's the other one? I think I've covered them all. Fortune, spirit, necessity, eros, courage, nemesis, and victory. Yeah. So all I'm explaining this week is how to create the charts and showing you, if you go over to the show notes, what they look like. Next week I'm going to go into more detail about how they function and how we as astrologers can utilize them, and are they useful, and do they need to be used all the time? Rhetorical question, who knows. Now the second chart I've put up there is the Hellenistic version of Tim's chart, and obviously we've got no outer planets, so it looks a lot more quiet. The chart's not so busy at all. We've got this now in Hellenistic astrology. Astro.com only throws up 3, which is fortune, spirit, and eros. So fortune's in the same place in the 7th, spirit is in the 6th, and eros is in the 2nd. And the chart's looking a lot quieter. There's a lot less going on because there's no outer planets in there. It only goes as far as Saturn. And it's got there, Saturn is domicile, is that right? I'd have to check that. And the chart then looks, when you look at it, more sort of a seesaw type of energy, with Saturn and Venus on the opposite side of the chart to the stellium in the 8th and Mars in the 9th. Now remember, of course, that I'm using this with equal house system. If you were a whole sign astrologer and you were Chris Brennan and Hellenistic astrologers, you'd be doing whole sign. I'm doing it with equal house. I'm probably muddling up how you're supposed to be using this anyway. But if you're interested in investigating the Arabic points a bit more, then get in contact and we'll do your chart. So I'm giving myself the whole week to read this book. It should arrive with me on Monday, which wouldn't take me that long to read it. So I've got a bit more of an understanding of how to utilise them. And also, inverted commas, are they useful for us? And what can we learn from them? So you can calculate them at astro.com by choosing the, now what did I say it was called? So you're choosing in the chart drawing style box, do both of them, do Hellenistic, but you won't get the outer planets, or the other version, which is called Arabic Points Al-Biruni. So those are all listed in there. So I think everything's listed there alphabetically, yeah. And obviously, because I'm an equal house astrologer, do it equal house, because don't mess my brain up to me to have a look at things in a different way. Now, just to finish, thank you very much, Tim, for sending your chart in. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your email as well, and describing a bit more about what it feels like for you to have that stellium in the 8th. Just a bit of forward planning now. If you want, so I'm a trustee for the Astrological Association, and I've been a member of the Astrological Association for a hell of a long time. And I just wanted to send out the thought that you don't need to be a professional astrologer to be a member. The website is astrologicalassociation.com. It's based in the UK, because the original title of it was the Astrological Association of Great Britain. I think we sort of dropped the of Great Britain bit, but anyway. And the membership's not a vast amount of money. At the moment, membership costs £32 if you're a student, and if you're an adult, if you're not studying, it's £37. But the prices start from £32 and go up to £59, depending, because there's lots of other things that you can subscribe for. So there's the journal, which you get anyway. So it doesn't matter what membership you've got, you'll get a copy of the journal. If you want a physical copy of it, you're going to have to pay for postage, because postage is a ridiculous amount of money for us to subsidise, that is. You can have joint membership, you can have an associate membership where you just subscribe to the newsletter for all the events and stuff. But there are different levels of membership, going from £32 up to £59, depending on what other publications you'd like to subscribe to. Now, I think even if you had all of them, less than £60 a year to join the Astrological Association, to be then connected to all the other astrologers that are in the UK that aren't professional. Okay, so when I joined, I was not a pro. I was a beginner using my little zodiac program that cost me a tenner, and adding into psychic readings for people, stuff that I was literally reading off the screen to them, but it was terribly interesting for them and me. So you don't need to be professional. And if you're living in the UK, I want to know why you haven't become a member. Email me and let me know why you haven't. And the other thing that we've got coming up, which starts on the 27th of August, is the annual conference. And that's international. We've got speakers from all over the world that are coming to talk to us. It's going to be hosted this year in Nottingham, and all the details for that on the Astrological Association website. So astrologicalassociation.com. And I'm going to be there. My job this year, which it was last year anyway, I'm doing all the tech, so I'm helping with the online version of it. So if you're in another country and you want to witness all the online speakers, because the speakers are going to be physically there, but if you'd like to experience those and you're in another country, you can sign up for that. If you're going to come physically and stay overnight, or have a room and do 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 5 nights, whatever, there are only 28 places left for this year, so you need to get in quick if you want to come to the conference and have a room and stay overnight. There are still tickets for the day events, so you can come to day events. And again, there's a big loads of different things you can do. There's different tracks, so you can go listen to this person. Remember, of course, that everything will be recorded, so if you want to go and see one person and you also want to see the other one, they're both on at the same time, doesn't matter, they'll be recorded and you'll get free access to that afterwards if you come to the physical conference. Same thing with the online one. So if you miss one of them because you paid for the online, you have a certain amount of time to be able to watch the videos. So I'm going to be there. My job is to do the techie start of it. I'm not doing a talk. I did do a talk last year. I'm not doing one this year. And so that's coming up. And I think I've told you everything this week. And do get in touch. And thank you once again, Tim, for sending your chart in. And hello to Dorothy later on today. Bye-bye now.